You win the game before you play it by refusing to spend your life on the wrong scoreboard. Most men do not lose because they lack effort. They lose because they enter careers, businesses, rooms, and relationships, thinking the rules are moral when the rules are mechanical. They believe hard work will be noticed. But systems do not reward effort. They reward what is visible, scarce, useful, trusted, and difficult to replace. That is the hidden game. In a job, loyalty can make you dependable and still keep you powerless. In business, passion can drain you if demand is not there. In status, good intentions mean nothing if your signals say weakness. But do not become cynical. The answer is not manipulation. The answer is observation. Before you invest your life, identify the scoreboard, study who is winning, find the leverage point, and cut every action that only makes you tired. Rockefeller found the bottleneck. Bezos found the wedge. SpaceX built one proof the world could not argue with. Different games. Same law. The man who wins first learns what the game rewards before he sacrifices his life to it. There is a reason certain men appear lucky. They enter the right room before the crowd notices the door. They build the right skill before the market becomes crowded. They position themselves where attention, money, and trust naturally flow. Then ordinary men look at them and say, "He was fortunate." No, he saw the board before they saw the game. Machiavelli understood this. In The Prince, he wrote that a ruler must study war and its rules and discipline, because that is the art that allows men to rise from private station to command. Do not misunderstand the word war. For your life, war is not violence. War is competition. War is attention. War is money. War is reputation. War is opportunity. War is the silent battle over who becomes useful, trusted, remembered, and difficult to replace. The question is not, are you working hard? The question is colder. Are you working on the scoreboard that actually decides who wins? Because if you do not understand the game before you play it, your life becomes a sacrifice to the wrong metric. You can be loyal for 10 years and still be replaceable. You can be talented and still invisible. You can be passionate and still broke. You can be intelligent and still lose to a less intelligent man who understands positioning. That is what makes this brutal. Most men are not lazy. They are misdirected. They spend their energy inside the structure that was never designed to reward the thing they are proud of. The employee is proud of effort. The company rewards impact, leverage, politics, visibility, and scarcity. The creator is proud of depth. The platform rewards packaging, retention, emotional pressure, and repeat attention. The entrepreneur is proud of passion. The market rewards demand, distribution, trust, margin, and timing. The socially invisible man is proud of good intentions. The room responds to signals, posture, proof, calmness, and consequence. This is where unsupported men bleed years. They think, once people understand me, they will respect me. No. People usually update their judgment after evidence makes their old judgment expensive. This is why explaining yourself rarely changes your rank. Explanation asks people to imagine your potential. Proof forces them to confront your reality. Your family may not see your future because they are still measuring you by your past. Your friends may not support your ambition because your growth threatens the old hierarchy. Your employer may praise your loyalty because your loyalty makes you predictable. The market may ignore your passion because pain does not become valuable until it is shaped into an offer people trust and can buy. You are not losing because the world is evil. You are losing because you are still trying to win approval in systems that reward evidence. Look at John D. Rockefeller. He did not become powerful because he was the man sweating hardest in the oil fields. In 1863, he entered the oil business by investing in a Cleveland refinery. In 1870, he formed Standard Oil. By the early 1880s, Standard Oil controlled about 90% of United States refineries and pipelines. The pressure was chaos. Oil was unstable. Refiners were everywhere. The industry was fragmented, inefficient, and dangerous. Most men saw oil. Rockefeller saw the machine beneath oil. The real game was not simply digging, sweating, or hoping for a lucky strike. The real game was refining, transportation, cost control, scale, and distribution. That is the difference between the amateur and the strategist. The amateur asks, "Where can I work harder?" The strategist asks, "Where is the bottleneck?" Rockefeller's first proof was not a speech about ambition. It was operational superiority, lower costs, tighter systems, a refinery model that could expand, a structure that made individual effort less important than the machine controlling the flow. The power lesson is simple. The man who controls the bottleneck controls the game. You can dislike Rockefeller's methods. You should not imitate unethical behavior. But you must understand the strategic law beneath the story. Power does not go to the man who worships effort. Power goes to the man who finds the leverage point. Now look at Jeff Bezos. He did not begin by trying to sell everything. Amazon began as an online bookstore. The early logic was cold. The internet could display a catalog. No physical bookstore could match. Amazon's own 1995 press release said it could offer more items than any retailer in history, thanks entirely to the internet. The pressure was uncertainty. In 1994 and 1995, online commerce was not obvious to most people. Most people did not look at the early internet and see the future of retail. They saw confusion, risk, novelty, and a strange toy for technologists. Bezos was not entering a safe game. He was reading a new scoreboard. His action was specific. Start with books. A huge catalog. Clear demand. Easy shipping. Fragmented supply. A category where the internet's advantage could be seen immediately. His first proof was measurable. By the end of 1997, Amazon had served more than 1.5 million customers and reached $147.8 million in revenue, according to Bezos's original shareholder letter. The power lesson is this: do not start with the biggest dream. Start with the sharpest wedge. The unsupported man often wants to prove everything at once because he is starving for recognition. He wants to show the world the full size of his potential. He wants the family to understand. He wants the friends to regret doubting him. He wants the room to finally notice the man he believes he is becoming. But the world does not buy potential. It buys proof. Your private conviction is invisible. Your internal ambition is invisible. Your future self is invisible. Your pain is invisible until it produces something measurable. Machiavelli wrote that men judge more by the eye than by the hand. Everyone sees what you appear to be, but few truly know what you are. That is the law of perception. You may know you are capable. You may know you are serious. You may know you are deeper than the people around you. You may know you have lived through pressure that would have broken other men. But the market cannot see your private conviction. The room cannot see your internal ambition. Your family cannot see the future version of you. So stop demanding that people recognize what has not been made visible. This is the part most men hate, because it removes their favorite excuse. It is easier to say nobody understands me than to admit my value has not yet been converted into evidence. It is easier to call people blind than to ask whether you have given them anything undeniable to see. You may be underestimated. You may also be unproven. Stop confusing the two. This is not comfort. This is strategy. If you are the kind of man who is tired of consuming harsh truths without turning them into proof, stop mistaking private intensity for progress. You already know effort alone is not enough, but your real problem is that your effort is still scattered across the wrong scoreboard. If you keep working hard without leverage, you will become exhausted, resentful, and easy to replace. Inside Patreon, you get deeper, unfiltered breakdowns on power, discipline, perception, and strategy, so you can turn abandonment into structure, structure into proof, and proof into leverage. This is not for men who want entertainment. It is for men who are ready to stop explaining and start building evidence. The decision is yours. Now the mechanism becomes clear. Every game has hidden layers. The first layer is the visible game. This is what amateurs see. The job title, the business idea, the YouTube niche, the social room, the relationship, the opportunity. They look at the surface and think they understand the game because they can name the arena. But naming the arena is not understanding the rules. A man says, "I have a job," but he does not know what gets promoted. A man says, "I am building a business," but he does not know what customers urgently want. A man says, "I am making content," but he does not know what makes a stranger click, stay, feel pressure, and return. A man says, "I am improving my status," but he does not know what signals weakness or strength before he speaks. This is where years vanish. Not because the man is doing nothing, but because he is doing things that only matter in the game he imagined. The second layer is the scoreboard. This is what actually gets rewarded, not what people claim to value, what they repeatedly reward. In a career, the scoreboard may be revenue impact, visibility, trust from decision makers, and difficulty of replacement. On YouTube, the scoreboard is not how meaningful your message feels to you. It is whether people click, stay, feel tension, receive transformation, and return. In business, the scoreboard is not your passion. It is whether a painful demand exists, whether people trust your offer, whether you can reach them, and whether the economics survive. In status, the scoreboard is not your heart, it is your signals, composure, boundaries, appearance, speech, competence, social proof, consequence. The scoreboard does not care what you are proud of. It cares what the system can measure, reward, use, trust, or fear losing. This is why a loyal employee can stay poor while a visible problem solver gets promoted. This is why a deep creator can remain unseen while a sharper packager gets the audience. This is why a passionate founder can lose money while a colder operator builds around demand. This is why a good man can be ignored while a composed man with proof commands the room. The third layer is incentives. Ask yourself this: who benefits if I stay where I am? Your employer may praise your loyalty because your loyalty makes you predictable. Your friends may mock your ambition because your growth threatens the old hierarchy. Your family may call your vision unrealistic because your risk terrifies their nervous system. The platform may reward emotional intensity more than intellectual accuracy. The market may reward distribution more than craftsmanship. Do not moralize this. Observe it. The immature man hears this and becomes bitter. He says the world is corrupt, people are fake, systems are rigged, and nothing matters. That is not wisdom. That is surrender wearing black clothing. The strategist does not need the world to be fair before he acts. He studies what the world rewards, then decides where to place his effort. Cynicism says the game is rigged, so why try? Strategy says the game has rules, so learn them before you bleed. The fourth layer is leverage. Leverage is the force that makes one unit of effort produce more than one unit of result. Skill is leverage. Distribution is leverage. Reputation is leverage. Capital is leverage. Technology is leverage. A strong network is leverage. A public body of proof is leverage. Emotional control is leverage because it stops other people from steering you through reaction. This is the layer that decides whether your effort compounds or dies every night when you go to sleep. A man without leverage must keep pushing the same stone every day. A man with leverage builds a slope, builds a machine, builds proof, builds a reputation, builds a system, and eventually the same effort produces greater force. This is why the unsupported man cannot afford random effort. Random effort is a luxury for men with safety nets. You do not have unlimited time. You do not have unlimited energy. You may not have family money. You may not have a mentor. You may not have a powerful network. You may be building after work, in silence, while people around you treat your ambition like a phase. That means you cannot afford decorative effort. You need consequential effort. Effort that builds proof. Effort that creates skill. Effort that increases visibility. Effort that improves your bargaining power. Effort that makes you harder to replace. Effort that gives you the ability to say no. Because the fifth layer is optionality. This is the final scoreboard. Can you leave? Can you say no? Can you survive rejection? Can you lose one opportunity without collapsing? Can you negotiate from strength instead of fear? A man with no options is easy to command. A man with options becomes dangerous without saying a word. This is why hard work alone is not enough. Hard work without a scoreboard becomes exhaustion. Hard work without visibility becomes hidden labor. Hard work without leverage becomes maintenance. Hard work without optionality becomes dependence. And dependence is the quiet prison most men decorate with noble words. They call it loyalty when it is fear. They call it patience when it is avoidance. They call it humility when it is invisibility. They call it being realistic when it is surrender to the current scoreboard. You need to stop seeing yourself as a man who is trying to succeed. That identity is too vague. A serious man becomes a strategist. He enters no game blindly. He does not ask, will they approve of me? He asks, what do they reward? He does not ask, why am I not noticed? He asks, what proof have I made impossible to ignore? He does not ask, why does nobody support me? He asks, what leverage can I build that makes support unnecessary? This is where the unsupported man grows teeth. Not through resentment, not through revenge fantasies, not through pretending he is above the world, through observation. Machiavelli warned that the prince must learn both the fox and the lion, because the lion cannot protect himself from snares, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. The lion is force. The fox is perception. Most men want to be lions because force feels masculine. They want to push harder, speak louder, work longer, suffer more, and prove their strength through exhaustion. But force without perception walks into traps. The unsupported man needs the fox first. He must observe incentives, observe who gets promoted, observe what the market buys, observe what the algorithm rewards, observe what signals create respect, observe what skills create dependency, observe where his effort disappears without consequence. Then he becomes the lion. He executes, he publishes, he negotiates, he builds proof, he sets boundaries, he cuts low-return work, he takes the position his evidence can defend. That is how you win the game before you play it. But now comes the dangerous question. How do you identify the real scoreboard when everyone around you is lying about it? Because most systems advertise one set of values and reward another. Companies say they reward loyalty, then promote visibility. Markets say they reward quality, then buy trust. Platforms say they reward creativity, then push retention. People say they value kindness, then follow strength. The official rules are what systems say. The scoreboard is what they reward when nobody is pretending. And there are 5 steps that expose the difference. Step 1. Identify the real scoreboard. Write down the game you are playing. Career, business, content, fitness, social status, money, relationships, discipline. Then ask one question. What does this game actually reward when nobody is pretending? Not what sounds noble, not what your parents told you, not what your insecure friends respect, not what makes you feel morally superior, what actually moves the result. If it is career, the scoreboard may be revenue, visibility, trust, rare skill, influence, and the ability to solve painful problems. If it is content, the scoreboard may be title, thumbnail, first 30 seconds, emotional tension, pacing, transformation, and returning viewers. If it is business, the scoreboard may be demand, offer, distribution, trust, speed of feedback, margin, and retention. If it is discipline, the scoreboard may be completed, reps, environment design, sleep, recovery, consistency, and proof logged over time. Psychology supports this. Goal-setting research has repeatedly shown the power of specific, difficult goals and feedback over vague do-your-best intentions. So stop saying, "I want to win." Define the score. A vague ambition gives your weakness room to negotiate. Step 2. Study who is already winning. Do not study what winners say. Study what their behavior reveals. People often describe their success in moral language because it protects their image. They say, "I just worked hard." They say, "I followed my passion." They say, "I stayed consistent." They say, "I believed in myself." Sometimes that is true, but it is almost never the whole machine. When you inspect the machine, you see more. You see timing. You see distribution. You see positioning. You see relationships. You see tolerance for risk. You see feedback loops. You see control of perception. You see a better choice of game. That is why copying a winner's words is weaker than studying his pattern. A winner may tell you he succeeded because he cared more, but his behavior may reveal that he chose a market with demand, built public proof, formed strategic relationships, and entered before the crowd understood the opportunity. A man may say he was promoted because he worked hard, but his behavior may reveal that he became visible to decision-makers, attached himself to measurable outcomes, managed perception, and made his absence costly. A creator may say the channel grew because the message was powerful, but his behavior may reveal that he mastered titles, thumbnails, first 30 seconds, emotional pressure, and the art of making strangers feel personally exposed. A strong man may say confidence changed his life, but his behavior may reveal that his confidence came from trained body language, better appearance, emotional control, competence, social exposure, and proof that made him harder to dismiss. Do not worship what they say. Decode what they repeat. What do they do again and again? What do they avoid? What signals do they control? What skills give them leverage? What proof makes people trust them? What do others rely on them for? What do they make visible? What do they refuse to waste time on? Winners reveal the hidden mechanics of the game, but only to men who know how to watch. Look at SpaceX. Before Falcon 1 succeeded, there had been 3 failed launch attempts. On September 28, 2008, Falcon 1 became the first privately developed liquid-fueled rocket to reach low Earth orbit. The pressure was extreme. Repeated public failure, expensive failure, visible failure, humiliating failure. The kind of failure that makes outsiders laugh and insiders doubt whether the entire mission is delusional. But the action was not motivational talk. It was engineering iteration under pressure. The first proof was orbit. That is the part weak men miss. SpaceX did not need everyone to understand the dream before the proof existed. It needed one undeniable result, strong enough to force the world to recalculate. Before proof, people debate you. After proof, they recalculate you. This applies to your life more than you want to admit. You do not need everyone to understand your ambition. You need one piece of evidence strong enough to change the conversation. One portfolio that proves skill. One offer that proves demand. One public body of work that proves consistency. One measurable result that proves competence. One physical transformation that proves self-command. One financial reserve that proves you are no longer negotiating from panic. One skill so useful that people stop asking whether you are serious and start asking whether you are available. This is why studying winners matters. Not because you should copy their personality, not because you should become a smaller version of another man, but because every winner leaves fingerprints on the scoreboard. The unsupported man must become a forensic observer. He cannot afford fantasy. He cannot afford to say, "I will just work hard and hope the right people notice." Hope is not a strategy. Hope is what men use when they are afraid to inspect the real rules. In your career, find the men who move upward and ask what the system rewards through them. Are they solving painful problems? Are they trusted by decision makers? Are they close to revenue? Are they politically intelligent? Are they visibly reliable in moments of pressure? Are they difficult to replace? In business, find the companies that grow and ask what they understood before others did. Was it demand? Was it distribution? Was it margin? Was it speed? Was it trust? Was it a sharper offer? Was it a better wedge into the market? In content, find the creators who keep attention and ask what they control. Do they create curiosity early? Do they build pressure? Do they speak to a specific wound? Do they pay off the promise? Do they make the viewer feel seen, accused, and transformed? In social status, study who commands respect without begging for it. Watch posture. Watch calmness. Watch how little they explain. Watch their boundaries. Watch their presentation. Watch how they handle disrespect. Watch whether their words are backed by evidence. Most men watch winners emotionally. They admire them, envy them, resent them, defend them, attack them. The strategist watches mechanically. He asks, what is the system rewarding here? Step 3. Find the point of leverage. Every game has one or two forces that matter more than everything else. Your job is not to become busy. Your job is to find the pressure point. A man who cannot find the pressure point will turn discipline into punishment. He will fill his day with action and still feel the ground beneath him, refusing to move. He will read more, train more, work more, post more, apply more, study more, and still remain trapped because none of it is attached to the decisive force. This is why many men become exhausted before they become successful. They are not lazy. They are unfocused at the level of leverage. For a YouTube creator, the leverage point may be packaging and retention, not because depth does not matter, but because depth that nobody clicks never enters the mind. A powerful idea trapped behind a weak title is not a video. It is private thinking disguised as content. For a salesman, the leverage point may be offer clarity and trust. He can memorize scripts forever, but if the buyer does not understand the problem, believe the promise, or trust the mechanism, persuasion collapses. For an employee, the leverage point may be becoming visibly tied to revenue or operational necessity. Being useful in secret is not the same as being valuable in the scoreboard. Hidden value is often treated as non-existent value. For a man building his body, the leverage point may be sleep, progressive overload, diet consistency, and removing the environment that keeps pulling him back into weakness. He does not need 50 hacks. He needs the few boring forces that actually change the body. For a man building status, the leverage point may be composure, presentation, competence, boundaries, and proof. Not loudness, not performance, not pretending he does not care. Real status is not begging the room to feel your intensity. It is carrying evidence that makes your presence heavier. For money, the leverage point may be skill, ownership, distribution, and saving enough to create optionality. A man who only earns from his time is always vulnerable to the buyer of his time. A man who owns skill, audience, systems, capital, or assets begins to escape pure dependence. You do not need 20 priorities. 20 priorities is fear disguised as ambition. You need the few moves that change the scoreboard. This is where most unsupported men waste themselves. They feel behind, so they attack everything. They try to learn everything, fix everything, build everything, prove everything, master everything. They confuse urgency with strategy. They confuse pressure with intelligence. That is not discipline. That is panic wearing discipline's clothing. Pick the bottleneck, attack it until it moves. If your problem is invisibility, do not spend another year perfecting in private. Publish, document, display, build a trail of proof. If your problem is replaceability, do not merely become more obedient. Build a rare skill, attach it to painful outcomes, and make your replacement expensive. If your problem is money, do not worship effort. Build value the market can measure, package, trust, and repeatedly buy. If your problem is weak status, do not cry about being misunderstood. Improve your body, your presentation, your competence, your calmness, your boundaries, and the social proof attached to your name. If your problem is inconsistency, do not chase another motivational identity. Redesign the environment. Lower friction. Track proof. Recover properly. Remove the triggers that keep making weakness convenient. The leverage point is rarely glamorous. It is usually the place you avoid because it exposes the truth. The creator avoids packaging because it reveals whether strangers care. The employee avoids visibility because it risks judgment. The entrepreneur avoids sales because rejection feels like a verdict on his worth. The socially invisible man avoids presentation because it forces him to admit that perception matters. The undisciplined man avoids tracking because measurement kills excuses. This is why the bottleneck is sacred. It tells you where the game is actually being lost. And once you see the bottleneck, you must stop wasting energy on moves that merely make you feel productive. Step 4. Refuse low-return effort. This will offend the hard-working man. Good. Some effort is honorable but strategically useless. You can be busy and still be losing. You can be loyal and still be trapped. You can consume information and still have no proof. You can improve privately and still be invisible publicly. You can be the most reliable man in the room and still be the least powerful if your reliability only makes you easier to use. The cold rule is this: if effort creates no proof, no leverage, no skill, no reputation, no money, no optionality, and no bargaining power, it is not progress. It is maintenance. Maintenance has its place. Survival has its place. Paying bills has its place. Showing up has its place. But do not confuse survival motion with conquest. The unsupported man has limited time, limited energy, limited money, and usually no safety net. He cannot afford decorative effort. He needs consequential effort. Every week, ask yourself, what did I build that can speak for me? What did I improve that makes me harder to replace? What did I publish, ship, sell, learn, document, or measure? What action created future leverage? What action merely made me tired? Cut the second category without mercy. This is where many men discover that they are addicted to the feeling of effort, not the reality of progress. They like feeling busy because busyness gives temporary permission to avoid judgment. As long as they are busy, they can tell themselves they are trying. As long as they are preparing, they do not have to ship. As long as they are learning, they do not have to be measured. As long as they are improving privately, they do not have to risk public proof. But the world does not reward your private intensity. The world rewards what survives contact with reality. This is why learning can become avoidance. A man consumes books, videos, podcasts, courses, and frameworks, but produces nothing that changes his position. He feels wiser, but his scoreboard remains the same. He has more language, more theory, more opinions, and no more leverage. Knowledge that does not alter behavior becomes decoration. Discipline that does not create proof becomes theater. Pain that does not produce structure becomes identity. And identity without evidence becomes delusion. This is the brutal line between men who transform and men who merely talk about transformation. The serious man asks, where is the proof? Not the intention, not the plan, not the fantasy, not the explanation. The proof. What can be seen? What can be measured? What can be trusted? What can be repeated? What can be sold? What can be used? What can be shown when words are no longer enough? If you are working hard but nothing compounds, ask whether your effort is building assets or only feeding exhaustion. If you are loyal but your life remains trapped, ask whether loyalty is creating bargaining power or only making you predictable. If you are learning but not producing, ask whether knowledge is becoming output or only giving you a cleaner vocabulary for procrastination. If you are improving privately but invisible publicly, ask whether privacy is discipline or fear. If you are working harder but gaining no alternatives, ask whether your effort is building freedom or just maintaining dependence. The man who cannot cut low, return effort will eventually resent the world for not rewarding his sacrifice. But sacrifice is not automatically strategic. Some men sacrifice their strongest years to the wrong machine. They give loyalty to institutions that see them as replaceable. They give energy to people who only value their usefulness. They give time to goals with no scoreboard. They give ambition to fantasies with no demand. They give emotional labor to relationships that reward weakness with temporary belonging and punish growth with distance. Then they wake up years later with explanations instead of assets. Do not become that man. If an action does not build proof, skill, leverage, reputation, money, optionality, or self-command, know what it is. Maintenance. And if your life is already behind, maintenance alone is not enough. Step 5. Create an unfair advantage. Ethically. Unfair advantage does not mean exploitation. It means positioning. It means you stop entering every room as a beggar and start entering as a man with proof. Most men think fairness means everyone should be evaluated by intention. But intention is private. The world cannot organize itself around what you meant. It reacts to signals, incentives, proof, trust, scarcity, and consequence. Your job is not to complain about this. Your job is to build an advantage that does not require begging people to understand you. Build rare skill. Get faster feedback. Publish your work. Document your improvement. Control your presentation. Develop emotional discipline. Choose environments where your strengths matter. Build a network by becoming useful before asking for access. Save money until fear loses some of its power over your decisions. That is practical psychology, not affirmation, not fantasy, not believe in yourself. Belief without proof is fragile. Proof creates self-trust, and self-trust creates a different posture. You stop asking for permission from people who cannot see the board. You stop explaining the dream to people who are addicted to the old version of you. You stop treating doubt as a verdict. You use it as data. This is what an ethical, unfair advantage looks like. You are not harming people. You are becoming harder to ignore. You are not manipulating the room. You are understanding perception before entering it. You are not exploiting the market. You are finding painful demand and serving it with clarity. You are not using relationships. You are becoming useful enough that access becomes mutual instead of begged for. You are not becoming cold because you hate people. You are becoming disciplined because you no longer trust emotion to choose the game for you. There is a difference between manipulation and observation. Manipulation tries to control people against their interest. Observation studies incentives, so you stop being controlled by your own innocence. That distinction matters. The answer is not to become cruel. Cruel men often create enemies faster than they create power. The answer is not to become paranoid. Paranoid men see traps everywhere and eventually stop moving. The answer is not to become numb. Numbness destroys judgment. The answer is not to worship Machiavelli as an excuse for weakness dressed as strategy. The answer is to become clear. Clear about what people reward. Clear about what systems measure. Clear about what your current proof says. Clear about where your effort disappears. Clear about what leverage you must build next. That clarity is what makes a man dangerous. Not loudness, not arrogance, not revenge. Precision. The man who understands the game appears lucky to those who only understand effort. Now the entire law becomes clear. You win before you play when you refuse to confuse effort with strategy. The loser asks, "How do I work harder?" The strategist asks, "What is the scoreboard? Who is already winning? What do they repeat? What do they avoid? What signal gives them trust? What proof makes them credible? What leverage makes their effort multiply? What action am I doing only because it makes me feel productive?" This is not cynicism. Cynicism says the game is rigged, so why try? Strategy says the game has rules, so learn them before you bleed. Machiavelli was not teaching men to whine about human nature. He was teaching rulers to stop being surprised by it. Men are moved by fear, interest, perception, habit, reward, and consequence. So build with that knowledge. Do not expect effort to be discovered. Make it visible. Do not expect loyalty to be rewarded. Make yourself valuable and capable of leaving. Do not expect passion to create demand. Find demand before you build the temple. Do not expect people to know your worth. Build proof that forces them to update their estimate. You are not a victim because the game has hidden rules. You are only a victim if you refuse to learn them. The unsupported man has one advantage if he accepts it. Nobody is coming. That means nobody is coming to save you. But it also means nobody owns your rise. No inherited map. No comfortable permission. No applause to sedate you. No safety net to make you careless. You have pressure. And pressure can become intelligence. From today, you are not a man trying to be understood. You are a man building evidence. You are not chasing approval. You are studying incentives. You are not working harder inside the wrong machine. You are choosing the game, reading the scoreboard, finding the leverage point, and moving with precision. The world will not reward your pain. It will reward what your pain produces. If you are the man who already feels this truth in your bones, stop using self-improvement as false progress. You already know you need leverage, but your real problem is that too much of your energy still dies in private. If you keep consuming, planning, and explaining without building proof, you will become a man with sharp thoughts and no position. Inside Patreon, you get deeper, unfiltered work on power, perception, discipline, leverage, and the psychology of becoming undeniable, so you can turn pressure into a system and isolation into force. This is not for men who want comfort. It is for men who are ready to build where nobody claps. The decision is yours. Before you work harder, do this tonight. Take one area of your life where you feel ignored, stuck, or behind. Write the name of the game at the top of the page. Then write these 5 lines. The scoreboard is, the people winning are, their leverage point is, my low return effort is, the proof I must build next is, be honest. If the scoreboard is visibility, stop hiding. If the scoreboard is skill, stop consuming and start practicing. If the scoreboard is distribution, stop perfecting in private. If the scoreboard is money, stop worshipping effort and build value the market can measure. If the scoreboard is status, stop begging people to see your intentions and start controlling your signals. This is how the game changes. Not when they finally believe in you. When your proof makes belief irrelevant. The man who understands the game appears lucky to those who only understand effort. Do not be the hard-working man who loses beautifully. Be the strategist who wins before the first move. Write the scoreboard, find the leverage, cut the waste, build proof. But understand this. Seeing the scoreboard is only the beginning. A man can understand the game and still remain trapped if he has no leverage inside it. He can see the structure and still be commanded by fear. He can name the incentives and still lack the proof to negotiate. He can know the rules and still be replaceable. So the next danger is not ignorance. The next danger is weakness after awareness. Once you see the game clearly, your task is no longer to complain that the rules were hidden. Your task is to become difficult to replace inside the rules you now understand. Because a man with no leverage can see the prison and still obey the guard. But a man with proof, options, skill, reputation, and self-command does not need the world to be fair before he moves. He moves with evidence. He moves with precision. He moves like a fox before the trap and a lion after the opening. Stop asking to be believed. Build until disbelief becomes expensive. Stop waiting for permission. Build until permission becomes irrelevant. Stop trying to prove your pain. Build what your pain can produce. And let the world discover too late that you were never playing the game they thought you were playing.